Welcome in Karibuni to Aroma of Zanzibar. Today I'm going to share with you how we make these Zanzibar style donuts. We call them Donas. This is one of many recipes that you find out there. I like this recipe. It's very basic and very simple. 3 cups of flour, 3 eggs, 3 tablespoons of sugar, 3 tablespoons of melted butter, 3 tablespoons of milk, 3 teaspoons of baking powder. And make sure that the eggs are in room temperature. So I'm going to start with the eggs and sugar. And using a whisk attachment here, and you can use a handheld, the hand electric mixer, or you can use your hand. It's just going to take longer. And I started slow here, and then I'm going to increase my speed, and this should take about 5 minutes to get to the consistency that I'm looking for. So I went ahead and combined the baking powder and the flour, and also the freshly ground nutmeg, about a 1/4 teaspoon or more if you want, and also combine the milk with the melted butter. And so just stir the flour to make sure that the baking powder is evenly distributed. And before you add the milk mixture to the egg mixture, make sure that the egg has increased at least 2.5 times to 3 in volume, because if they have not come to the consistency that you're looking for, then they will deflate. Okay, I went ahead also and added a little vanilla. You can if you want. If you don't want, it's okay. So, and then the milk goes in, and then you just want to whisk this for another minute or so. And that's about it. So now, if you want to continue with the mixer, you can use the pedal attachment. I just decided not to. This is for the sake of those who don't have a machine, because many people think they have to use the things that I'm using. No, you don't have to. Okay, so now with the flour, I just added 1 cup. You're just going to do it in portions. You don't have to do it all at one time. You don't have to measure it. It could be in 3 additions or 4 additions. It doesn't matter. Okay, now I like this recipe. This is a very basic recipe, and it's a very old recipe that I've been using. I've been using this recipe since I was a young girl. When I was in boarding school, whenever we went home for holidays, and when it was time to go back to school, the last week we would be making donuts and vichetti and so many other things. So this is one recipe that I have not changed. Most recipes after I grew up, I changed them to the way that I like. But I like this recipe because it's very simple, as you can see. Okay, and if you're going to use 2 eggs, then you're going to use 2 cups of flour. It's so easy to remember. Okay, so now it's time to knead, and I just decided to move to the surface. And you don't want to over knead the dough. Okay, just enough to combine. And these donuts, Donas, I'm sure they derive from the donuts. What I was going to say, they are not soft like the usual yeast donuts, soft and fluffy. They're like cake donuts, but they're a little harder than the cake donuts. The cake donuts have more butter, so they're more softer. These are just, they're just good. They're just enough. I don't know how to explain the texture of it. Okay, so you don't want to over knead the dough. You don't want it to be too hard. When you develop glutens, that's what happens. So we're just gonna knead them just enough to combine, and then cover the dough for about 15 minutes to get the gluten relaxed, and then we'll be ready to roll. Okay. So now I'm ready to roll my donuts, and you don't have to use any fancy tools, or if you don't have a donut cutter or a cookie cutter or whatever. Back in the days we used to use a glass or a cup, and for the donut hole we used the cap of the vanilla essence, that you get, vanilla or any kind of essence. Okay, and you want to roll this to about 2 centimeters. I think so. Yeah, about 2 centimeters, not too thick and not too thin. Okay, because these don't rise as much as how your yeast donuts would rise. Okay, so now with this size, I don't remember the cutter, what size that I used. I don't think it's, but with this size, I use, this should be like a little bit smaller than the glass, okay, the normal drinking glass, water glass. I got about a half a dozen, that's 18 donuts, okay? So, yeah, so you can just put them in a tray or something, and you can put them one on top of the other there, it's all right. Now for the remaining dough, what I do is you're gonna put it together and add a little milk to it, to soften it. Okay, so I did about a tablespoon. I started with a half. Now you could use more or you could use less. It depends on, the flour. The flours do have different density. I keep mentioning that every time. So that's it. So I'm going to roll this, and now my oil is ready. You don't want it very hot, just moderately, medium heat. And we're just ready to fry these. Okay, these are very nice. We do them on Eid too, or even they're very simple to have them for tea or coffee in the evening. Last minute decisions. It's not like how you do your yeast donut, you have to wait. And I like to agitate the grease here while I'm frying, and then just flip them over. Now you can do this one time, flip them over one time or two times, just see the color that you want. But these are nice when they're nice, just golden brown, not very dark brown. But it's up to you. Okay. So, yep, mine are just ready. And do not cut them very thick because then they're not going to cook well inside. And make sure that they are well cooled before you coat the powdered sugar on them. So mine are ready, cooled, and this is a mixture of powdered sugar and nutmeg, ground nutmeg or powdered nutmeg, and then you're just gonna coat these, okay? So, well, that's about it, and thank you so much. For more recipes, please do visit me at Aroma of Zanzibar.